Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to a new edition of Urban Sentinel Live. I'm your host, Reggie Kearney, and we are here tonight to have some deep conversation. I thought I'd go and, we'll discuss some politics tonight. So I got with me my sidekick when it comes to talking politics, Dr. Dula. Dr. Dula is a well-decorated armed services person out of the Air Force. I believe he was a major. So we want to congratulate him and give him kudos for the time he spent serving our country. So Dr. Dula, how you doing tonight?
Well, I'm doing fine, Mr. Kearney. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. And this is, I'm not mistaken, is this Military Appreciation Week or month?
Military Appreciation Month.
And we do give you kudos for serving this country well.
Yeah. Well, I only served for 30 years, so it's
only 30 years. Okay. Only 30 years. Okay, then. All right. Only 30 years. That's a long time, man. That's a long time.
Yeah, it seems as if time flew by, though.
Yeah. It seems like for all of us, when we sit back and look back on yesterday, time has flown past us.
Flown by, yes.
And sometimes I think time has left us and gone ahead of us,
Amen.
And everything, but hey, I thank God for giving me the opportunity to see a brand new day every day, so hey, I'm not mad. I'm not upset. I'm thankful and grateful. So tonight, my friend, we got a lot of stuff to discuss. There's a lot going on in this country. But I've just been itching to discuss some of the issues that have taken hold of this country, because it seems like everything revolves around denying blacks their rightful place in the community. And I think sometimes we forget as blacks the struggle that still prevails and what we have to do to get beyond this struggle. And we can't take for granted that everything is hokadory. When you look around, just because we're able to live in a county like Charles County that's based on income, is one of the richest minority counties in the country, we can't rest on that because Mr. White America don't care about that, and they're still going to try to keep their foot on our necks. And I think that's one of the things that kind of disappoints me, because and I've heard some people, it's for them, it's like wearing a badge of honor because we stick out among the counties in this United States. So I don't know, but I don't. I look at it, I say, yeah, okay, good, but we still got a lot of work to do. Your thoughts,
Mr. Kearney? When I talk to people about our place in society in America, I often ask them, do you think that justice and freedom for all took us into account? And they look at me and they said, well, I don't think so. Well, guess what? You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the history of this country. And I know that I defended our freedoms for 30 years, and fighting in 3 wars. The 3 wars I called the Cold War, during the 60s, and the struggle against the USSR, United Soviet Socialist Republic, and then Vietnam, where we fought against the communists,
mm-hmm.
And then the other war I was involved in was war on drugs down in South America, Colombia, El Salvador, and places like that
Mm-hmm.
were known to smuggle drugs through this country. But I often ask, do you think that the country was designed for us? No, because the tickets that we acquired to come across the ocean on that boat, they were not purchased. We came over as slaves, and so America was founded on on hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm.
And 400 and whatever years later, we're still fighting for our rightful place in society because let's face it, Mr. Kearney, this is the only country you and I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we want to fit in. We have supported and defended the Constitution of the United States at every turn.
Mm-hmm.
We have become bona fide citizens of the United States of America. We pay our taxes, and all we're asking for is a little justice. And so justice has evaded us for so many years, and
Mm-hmm.
now we're here. We are. We find ourselves once again sitting in society, saying, "What about us?"
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't look real pretty right now because as I got off the conversation a little while ago, we were talking about uh, where are we uh, as a just society in America, and we started talking about crime, and we started talking about uh, the different generations. The greatest generation uh,
Mm-hmm.
was there for World War II and fought for their rights. Then there was the civil rights generation that fought for our rights, and now we've entered Generation Z, I guess it is, and now they're rising up, G and Z or whatever it is, to say that we got to fight for our rights. Well, wait a minute, we thought that we'd already done that, but
Yeah.
somewhere we have to go back and retrace our footsteps because somewhere we missed the boat.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to where do we fit in, we're still trying to figure that out. But
Yeah.
we've got to also figure out where our kids going to fit in into the future. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the biggest uh, problems I see is that we just we just won't do the heavy lifting. I guess I'll call it. Okay, as far as community involvement and things of that nature, and working in the community and working with our teenagers and our kids and some of our young adults to try to get them focused on um, going down the right path. Case in point, I'm pretty sure you saw the news where in San Francisco, security guard shot a shoplifter that was leaving Walgreens after they had a confrontation in the store. Uh, Guy had this big old bag that you see him carrying sometime on the streets. I guess he filled it with product, trying to leave, had a scuffle, and he kind of, got out of the scuffle, picked the bag up, and attempted to walk back out the door. But when he turned around, he kind of bucked at the security guard. Security guard pulled his gun and shot him. Unfortunately, the security guard, they found it was a justified killing because the security guard feared for his life. But then they found no knife on the guy. Now, I say that to say this. It pains me that with us struggling to establish ourselves or reestablish ourselves in our communities because of certain white politicians, we find the need to go on these shoplifting sprees into some of the upscale stores because we want to have Gucci and Chanel and all this kind of stuff, okay? And it's very disappointing because in the back of a lot of people who support the movement that are not part of Black America, but they do support us and they want to see us get our due diligence, they have to watch this. And that's what pains me, that we think that we need to go shoplifting, smash and grab and all that kind of stuff on a constant basis because we want something that we need to work for to earn it and to get it. And that bothers the crap out of me every time I see it.
Well, Mr. Kearney, what we've done is uh, we have moved from morality to materialism. When I was coming up, we lived in a society that where morality was reinforced. That was a value we had to have
Mm-hmm.
because we had to have it if not for ourselves, for our race. So we had a common denominator all throughout the African American, and I don't like to use African American, all across the black society, uh,
Mm-hmm.
all across black society. Whereas we thought that we had to do it for our race, and morality was a part of it. That was instilled in us from our grandparents,
Mm-hmm.
instilled in us from our churches, from our communities, and for me, from our segregated schools. Do the right thing, young brother. Do the right thing. And even when we protested, we knew we were doing the right thing, but we didn't just blatantly go out and commit crimes. We
Mm-hmm.
saw sitting in and marching and demonstrations as our First Amendment right. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
we have a right to demonstrate. It's in the Constitution of the United States. Now, on the other side of the coin, that morality was very important. Let's move forward 50 years. Now, all of a sudden, and I remember when my daughter was growing up, and she always wanted this Feli's and Jordashes, and I would tell my wife, wait a minute, make her work for that. I don't care if it's washing dishes or sweeping floors, but make her earn that,
Mm-hmm.
because that teaches a certain value that she can use for the rest of her life. What we're seeing is that somewhere along the line, those values were not instilled in the next generation. If they were, we would not have all of the break-ins and smash and grabs and easy money plots. We would have people saying, "I'll go out and take that job. It's not beneath me to wash dishes, to sweep floors, to because that's the value system in us." I have busted tables. I
Mm-hmm.
have washed dishes. I have swept floors. I have cleaned bathrooms. And when I taught high school, I used to tell the kids, don't look at me now because you don't see the road I traveled to get here.
Mm-hmm.
But I taught my students, make sure you have the right value system. When you say, I want to have a car like Dr. Doolin, I want a house like Dr. Doolin, and be willing to work for it, because life doesn't offer you things free.
Right.
Everything comes with a price, and every action has a consequence. So
Mm-hmm.
now we see mass grabs and break-ins and shootings and things of that nature being shot because the value on your life has been desensitized.
Mm-hmm.
And the more we steal and break in and buck against the system in certain ways, the more they're going to say, "Oh, see, that was another angry black man. That was another angry black woman. Oh, that's another black person out of control." So, so,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't think, and I'll be very frank with you, I don't think we're going to be able to reel in that behavior in our lifetime. But somebody has to plant the seed now that we're the last generation. If you're over, well, let's put it this way: if you're over 60 years old, you're the last generation to have some type of mindset of what it was like
Mm-hmm.
to have certain values placed in you.
Right.
Because once that's bred out of us, the next generation, and you're already seeing the confusion, the misconceptions, and that has caused a backlash that
Mm-hmm.
was always there behind the scenes. But at the same time, it's rearing its ugly head to where now I can shoot you and just say, "Oh, I fear for my life because you're a black man."
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how it's doing. It's like, and it's like even the black politicians, I think, feel like sometimes, they've come to the end of the road and there's nothing else to do in the community, because you don't see them really speaking out and really working in the community like, we did back, in the 70s, late 60s, 70s, and 80s. You don't see that no more. You don't see them commenting on, the plight of the kids, and what's happening with our kids and everything. You just don't see that. And so it's disappointing that it's nobody out there getting any kind of direction. You know, you take Reverend Barber. Reverend Barber is not even on the scene anymore. You know, he took a position with an Ivy League school because they created an endowment for him. You know, so he's teaching social justice now. I believe it's at, I want to say Princeton or either Yale, one of the two schools. But I mean, it's even his organization. It seems like it's, you know, I used to get a lot of emails from them. I don't even know how to get any emails from them there. So I don't know what the status is and which direction they're going in, you know. But he was out there on the battlefield, you know.
You know, and you're absolutely right. But every time we get leaders who are powerful in our communities and they speak truth to power, there's always been a behind the scenes strategy to get them out of their lane.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it used to be uh, that if a Medgar Evers was trying to organize a movement and was successful in Mississippi and he was rebuking the system that hated him, kill him. It used to be that if Dr. King was galvanizing the community and really gaining advancement in his causes, kill him. But then the Southern strategy came to play that says we don't necessarily have to kill them if we can come up with a strategy that is sort of like a hidden agenda and we can get them out of their lane. See, and so I would tell anybody listening to this program, and I'm a black man that was educated in segregated schools by black teachers who taught me how to survive in a Hippocratic America. And I went on to defend this country for 30 years because it's the country I lived in. I went on to teach history and social studies and things of that nature in both high schools and three different colleges and universities. But all in the back of my mind, I was teaching our children how to think for themselves and how to survive in a society that does not embrace them. And so, as I've studied my history, I saw the gentrification of Washington, D.C. coming. I
Mm-hmm.
used to teach it in my classes. I saw when our politicians began to be bought out because they were rising to the top of the social agenda in the black community. I saw them being bought out. I saw them. I saw right here in my own county the lines when I ran for a political office. The line gerrymandered me out of a certain district by one street so that I would not run for a certain political position
Mm-hmm.
against a person that had been in this country in the seat for over 20 years. That was the power of politics. What can we do to get Dula out of our district? Let's gerrymander him out and put him way over here with folks he has nothing in common with. I
Mm-hmm.
saw that happen, but I knew what it was all about. But I did not let it silence me. See, because when you let things silence you, then things can take a turn for the worse. And so I continue to be vocal and to speak out, and I wouldn't be bought. I kept coming back because I knew that I still had to work to my community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm seeing in our society. When we get too strong, the money comes in, the influence comes in. I saw that as a position. I was the president and CEO of a nonprofit. I saw it happen. So I'm just in the back of my mind. I'm saying to myself, maybe this could be something that's happening in society still today. But you know, we lose our good leaders to such positions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, I was looking up Reverend Barber. He directs a new center at Yale Divinity School, the Center for Public Theology and Public Policy. You know, so I mean, it's a good position, and I know he was tackled. He does have health problems and everything, but you know, the organization still has to have the same sense of urgency and fever that you know Barber brought to the organization. You know, and that's how they got to get out there and do the thing. Now, when it comes to politics overall, I really don't care what you decide to do as far as political affiliation. You can be Republican, you can be a Democrat. I don't really care, But if you got to get into parties and make a difference, especially if you're black and in the Republican Party. You got to allow your voice to be heard, and not just be a puppet for the party because you got an office in the white majority community because they needed black representation in the Republican Party. And a lot of times, so many of these guys, they whip themselves up and get in office and stuff, like Tim Scott down in South Carolina. And then you don't bring nothing to our society to try to change your party. That's a party of a bunch of guys who just want to turn back the hands of time on everyone, Especially if you're a liberal and a Democrat, they just want to squash you and turn back the hands of time. They're doing everything possible to do that and everything, But you don't never, you hear Micah Steele speak up, I got much respect and love for Micah Steele because Micah, he speaks up, he says what's on his mind and he lets them know, look, you're wrong, you're going down the wrong road. But a lot of these other guys, they're not saying anything. They're just in there, because it's an easy seat to get,
And you're right. So if the ideal situation would be if each politician would ask themselves if they're in it for the people or if they're in it for the position.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what you're alluding to is the fact that many GOP politicians right now are buying into the Trump camp.
Mm-hmm.
I also call it the cult.
Yep.
So that they will be able to solidify their position in office through his base and not offend them, but also try to do a balancing act to where they can also appeal to their base. So what they're doing is joining taking a Hippocratic oath to where we are going to sell out the people in order to maintain a position, because I feel that position will give me power. The rest of us sit back and ask, how can you support someone that has been accused of so many wrongdoings, that has really practiced, well, I call it like it is, fascist ideology.
Mm-hmm.
Let's burn the books. Mussolini done that in Italy,
Mm-hmm.
and he done it so well with that and the propaganda and talking about the government that was in power as being false, so many times that he done it so well that Hitler decided, well, that's my role model.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know your history, you know that Mussolini started that fascist ideology. Hitler joined it and became the leader of the Nazi Party.
Mm-hmm.
And that killed, unfortunately, so many innocent people in concentration camps. And then that philosophy and the Communist Manifesto was adopted by hate groups around the world.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come to America and you see this same mentality now rearing its ugly head, where we have politicians are saying ban the books, where we have politicians saying the media is false, where you have politicians causing every truth that we knew was of value a hoax, even when in front of the justice system, then you have to call it what it is.
Yeah.
It's a fascist movement. But how do you overcome? Someone said to me, the devil's greatest trick is when he makes you think he doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to get away from what they're doing, they label the democratic movement that provides welfare to the needy, that provides Social Security to the seniors, that provides health care and Obamacare to the sick and disabled, as socialism. And he brands socialism as a bad word.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell folks, it's not socialism. We live in a social democracy.
Mm-hmm.
That democracy means that we care for all people. We don't throw them away and toss them aside, let them go hungry, die in the streets, die from medical causes that we have the expertise to cure.
Mm-hmm.
And so which camp do you belong in when grandmama gets sick and she needs her medicine? Are you going to go along with one side that says let her die?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you going to go with the other side that says we have this medication, your insurance will pay for it, or the health care program through the federal government will pay for it?
Mm-hmm.
Which side are you going to pick?
Right.
You have to decide because right now we're at a crisis. We can't even get a budget done. We
Right.
can get the president and the president is not president, Senate, Speaker of the House are right
Mm-hmm.
now fighting, trying to get this thing ironed out because they don't want to budge one way or another. Well, wait a minute. Look at it. What's good for the common good? We don't need two folks in powerful just fighting each other, sticking to their ideology, but yet the whole country goes down the sink.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
getting back to what you were talking about, and I get to rambling a bit because I do a lot of thinking about this. Getting back to what you said, this is a concerning time, and if we
Mm-hmm.
don't get it right now, and we don't get it right the next election as well, then I really, really hate to look at what may be coming down the road because cultism is alive and well, Mr. Kearney,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
they have the microphone right now,
Yeah.
and a lot of things they say they're dropping the mic, but
Mm-hmm.
the thing they say is not for the good of the country.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm looking down the road, so I see that I see it coming, and that's what concerns me, If I can see it coming, everybody else should see it coming. That we're going to hit upon some hard times if this guy gets back in office and does what he wants to do, because he's going to really set out to destroy the judicial system as we know it. If he gets back in office, he's just basically going to do that. He's going to defund the FBI and everything else that's been against him. He's going to get rid of it, So we have to be concerned, but we have to get out and do what we need to do. And like I said, we can't be so, we can't feel like that we're so happy that we live in the life that we want to live. Okay. Because we're not, it's like, I think either Friday or Saturday, they had about 200 or 300 knuckleheads, white racists, gather down between, I guess, the Washington Monument and the Capitol. They were marching through, and with their hate-filled speech and all that kind of stuff. But this is my thing. If you want to be a racist, because we're always going to have racism and racism. Okay, that's one thing we need to establish. That is not going to change. Why walk around with dark sunglasses on, covering your face up and everything? We know we got prominent white people, white men, or white women in these organizations, okay? We already know that. Uncover your face and stuff so we can make our decision. Do we do business with you or not? Or do we grab you around the corner one night and beat the crap out of you? Just let us see your face. I mean, we want to know who we're dealing with. And so they hide themselves from America because they want a certain type of society here in America, but they don't want to lose what they've already put out, as far as businesses and going to school and having good jobs. So they don't hide. If you're that proud of what you're doing, then let your little light shine.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
You're right. Well, democracy is great as long as I have my way.
Mm-hmm.
See, and that's the hypocritical side that I keep talking about. I'm all for democracy, just don't tread on me.
Right.
Okay, but when you have nothing and you're the poor man on the block, and you're like the horse running down the track with blinders on, and all you can see is that tunnel vision.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know the truth that's happening over here. You don't know the truth that's happening over there because all you can see, you're being taught to see nothing but straight ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as long as you see that, the world is passing you by. You're caught up in hate, and
Mm-hmm.
you're caught up in ignorance. And like I said before on your show, ignorance is a Greek word. It just means you don't know. But you're caught up in ignorance, and you're not giving the world a chance. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Now, I still have faith in America that even though the polls are showing 49-51 in one way or another, I still have faith in America that when it comes to doing the right thing, that America will once again show up in force. However, it's going to take a certain movement, a certain education period, a certain acknowledgement of what we're confronted with to be able to do that. Just like the Cold War, I told you I was participated in the Cold War, was the first African American to serve at the highest level of Air Force intelligence in the Pentagon. And in that role, I began to see the propaganda side so that I could envision what the true side would be. I began to see the pictures of those that would destroy us and then what it would take to maintain the course. So, as a young man, 18, 19, 20 years old, I had an opportunity to start evaluating things based on what I saw. And can't talk about them because they're very classified because we were dealing with the CIA and the White House and everybody else. But it's in
Mm-hmm.
the history books what I was doing. But I had an opportunity to see, to evaluate, and then determine what was true and what was not. And I had great leaders who taught me that. And so as I sit back now in my 70s and I do the same thing, I said, let me see what's out there. Where's the propaganda? I see it, I evaluate it, and then I look for truth. Is this true or is this something that is put in place so that we can have those blinders on and not see the way to go? And I'm seeing a lot of that now, whether it was Russian involvement or whether it was just domestic terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing a lot of that now in our country, and that's what we have to educate people on. And especially if you're black, Latino, or whatever Asian, we've got to teach ourselves to find the truth, and that's why I always speak about the Southern strategy that was designed with a hidden agenda to lead you down a certain path, and you not even know you're going down that path.
Mm-hmm.
So I encourage people to study that under Richard Nixon. That a lot of people, black people, voted for him, and Lee Atwater, because they were the masters of the modern day Southern strategy, and it's
Mm-hmm.
still in play now. And a good example of that is during the election of Mr. Trump when he gets stood in front of the mic and he said, "Black people, vote for me. What have you got to lose?"
Mm-hmm.
A
A
lot
lot.
of black people bought that line, and they voted
Mm-hmm.
for him.
Yeah.
So looking at it from the black and white side, politics and propaganda and truth and the American way and all that stuff, I just like to tell people, do your homework, make sure you understand what propaganda is, make sure you do the right thing when you get to that poll, based on knowledge and not just on precept. I just think he's a good guy, and I think we'll be all right. That's the way I like to think, because I hate to think that I wasted 30 years of my life
Mm-hmm.
defending a country that I knew did not readily accept me, but they tolerated me. But it's the only country I knew.
Yeah.
That's why I like to refer to myself as black
Mm-hmm.
versus African Americans. I've never been to Africa. Look, white folks say, "Hey, look, African America, white." Wait a minute, time out. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm African American, well, who are you?
Mm-hmm.
Are you European American? Are you Australian American? Are
Yeah.
you, French American? Who are you? Well, don't label me,
Yeah.
because that puts me in a box.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I came through the generation where I was saying, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. Hey, look,
Right.
when I see those farms, that's the hypocrisy of it all. When I see those farms that says black, white, African American, other, not Latino, blah blah blah, I cross it all out, and I
Mm-hmm.
put down in other, I put black,
Right.
or I'll put American. And
Mm-hmm.
I really screw them up. Sometimes I put just American because I'm an American. It shouldn't matter what color I am. I'm an American.
Yeah. 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 This country is just so split when it comes to color right now. It's so split, and then you have guys like George Wallace Jr. down in Florida, Santos trying to remove Black history out of the school system out in Florida.
Go to
Based,
Virginia. Hey, you
yeah,
don't have to go to Florida.
yeah, Virginia too. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Yankee.
the critical race theory. Hey, look, we don't want to teach this. We're gonna celebrate George Washington's birthday.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna celebrate slavery and all that kind of stuff. In a good, what they consider a good way. And then and I think sometimes DeSantos is just one stupid person, for his ideology at times because, he's forbid public, institutions from having DEI. Well, little midget man, remember DEI covers not only blacks, which he's really going after blacks when it comes to diversity. But you got to look at it. It covers any minority. It covers veterans. It covers the disabled. It covers women. Some people of color. It encompasses much more than what his little small brain can gather and understand. But for him, it keeps blacks from moving along and being able to maybe jump the line and getting into certain positions or getting into some of the major universities down in Florida, and he keeps talking about how this is what the conservatives in America want. I'd really like to see a poll that says conservatives in America really want to take this country back 50 or 60 years,
Mm-hmm. Well, let's throw in another issue. It's all about control, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're talking about. How do we control our destiny and minimize the destiny of others?
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about that, I think about voter suppression that has taken place in the GOP conservative states. I
Mm-hmm.
have nothing wrong with conservatism if it's done the right way.
Right.
But there's some things I don't want to see change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what conservatism goes back 400 years almost, and so there's some things that I'm very conservative. In some ways, I'm very conservative. I don't want to see this change, that change. I'd like for this to stay the way it is. But on the other side of the coin, I understand that progress is a part of evolution. So we're going to
Mm-hmm.
continue to move forward. And sometimes you have to embrace that progress and embrace new ideology and be able to accept it and move forward. What I'm seeing is like the Tide of Color, the book that came out years ago,
Mm-hmm.
that puts black people and white people in certain categories. I'm seeing the fear that came from thinking that we're going to lose our position of authority in a few years.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you had people coming out of Charlottesville, talking about blah blah would not replace us. They would not replace us. Well, like you said, armed and masked up, the whole 9 yards, thinking they were scaring somebody, but we don't get scared anymore. Hey, black don't run anymore. I hate to say it that way, but it's the truth. We
Mm-hmm.
stand our ground, and so they need to realize that when they go in and shoot up places and kill 9 and 12 people, talking about we want to start a race war. Well,
Mm-hmm.
guess what? When the race war comes to your house, hey, look, remember who started it, because
Right.
people don't run anymore. On the other side of the coin, for America, I really, really wish that the politicians would sit down and talk with one another and see the great divide that's being created from the top down, and to be rational and to try to come to some type of consensus on
Mm-hmm.
how to move this country forward together. That's what I fought for when I raised my hand and said, I do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and
Mm-hmm.
domestic. That's what I fought for.
Right.
That's what I'd like to see us get back to, and that's what I'd like to see the conservatives in Congress do, in the House of Representatives, as you have a great divide there between the GOP old line conservative and the MAGA conservatives, who
Mm-hmm.
really, really want to have their way, just like little
Mm-hmm.
children throwing tantrums, or they'll destroy this country.
Yeah.
So
And
they're
you know,
standing their ground. That's a common word. They're
yeah.
standing their ground.
And you remember back in the day, the old Congress and the old Senate, the old House of Representatives, the old Senate, how those guys got along on both sides. They were friends.
Yeah.
You know, yes, they might have a different in ideology, but they knew how to sit down and work things out for the betterment of the country. And it was not about them. Now it's all about individual. You get elected, you go to Washington, and basically you decide on how you vote the way you feel like voting, not what your constituents want you to vote. You know, and that's how they self-serving. They serving themselves now. They're not serving the communities they come from anymore.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, we've lost that practice, and I think Senator Corden said it very well the other day.
Mm-hmm.
He said, when I came to office, that regardless of what side of the aisle you sit on, we were able to work together. We were able to compromise. We were always able to do what was best for the country.
Mm-hmm.
But President Obama said it when he was in office. We have got to stop as politicians continuing to run for office once we get elected, because that's a time for service.
Yeah.
And so if you're running for office just to maintain your seat, and you're ignoring the constituents that sent you there to make a difference, and you hear it all the time, those that elected will say the people want this. But when you talk to constituents, and pay attention on the news, when they talk, they say, well, I wish the politicians could come together. They will say, I wish the politicians would stop this great divide and learn to move the country together. Well, that's a contradiction to what the politician is saying. He says the people want, but then on the other side of the coin, the people say, that's not what we want. We want this over here. But they continue to elect the same old person that goes against what they're seeing when they're with a TV mic in front of their face.
Yeah.
I asked someone from Florida the other day, came to visit, and I said, wow, you got a very colorful guard, I'm trying to be nice. You got a very colorful governor down there. And they said, oh gosh, that guy. And I said, well, wait a minute. You can't complain because you got your constituency just reelected him for another 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
How did that happen? And they had no words. See? So as I said earlier, we have to wake up. We have to be knowledgeable, and we have to be able to. I'll use that what you said in reverse. We have to be able to stand our ground against those that would stand the ground against us.
Yeah.
Until we do that, we're going to have this conversation over and over and over until you and I are gone, and the next generation doesn't have the intelligence because we don't have the background to be able to have this kind of conversation.
And see, one of the things that the GOP wants to do now, they want to change how kids, young adults vote when they go to college and different things like that, voter suppression, because, research has seen and is saying that the next election cycles to come, presidential election and election cycles after that, you're going to find more young adults and high schoolers voting than you ever found before, because they can't stand the GOP platform. Well, they don't have a platform, but they can't stand the GOP ideas and agenda that they have, and they're going to start voting these guys out. So what the GOP is doing is trying to figure a way. You're talking about they might have to raise the voting age to 21. Come on now. You can't be playing those games because you want to try to hold on to power. You can't play those games.
Well, they do. I was voted out of my district by a long-serving senator. Gerrymandered the line to move me out because I was gaining a lot of popularity, and they became fearful. And he didn't look like me.
Yeah.
So, and I'm still voted out, gerrymandered out of the district. But at the same time, that's the way politics is ran. As I was saying earlier, when we began to have a powerful voice, there's always a backroom movement designed to strategize on how to subdue our voices.
Yeah.
We went to segregated schools, and through our segregated schools, we designed and planned for marches. And this just wasn't, I'll tell you, And I have white cousins on one side of the street and black cousins on the other. My
Mm-hmm.
DNA came back 38% European. I'm saying, wait a
Mm-hmm.
minute, time out. But that's my family, and like a
Right.
lot of families down south, we know what
Oh yeah.
happened.
Mm-hmm.
And but I'm also 14% Nigerian.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, uh, we went to black schools. But when we were out of schools, we were hanging with the other side of the street family.
Mm-hmm.
But in those black schools, we planned our demonstrations, we planned our marches, we planned our strategy. In the black churches, we planned our demonstrations, we planned our marches, we attended NAACP meetings, SCLC meetings, and
Mm-hmm.
so forth and so on. So we had a very strong base in our community. How do you break that up? Southern strategy. Okay, Board of Education, 1954. Linda Brown versus the Board of Topeka, Kansas. Separate but equal is wrong. We got to do away with separate but equal. And but between 1954 and 1965, when we integrated schools in North Carolina, all that period, nobody done anything.
Right.
But as soon as the Civil Rights Act was signed and things started moving forward, and blacks began to raise their voices, oh, now it's time to desegregate these schools and break up that base. What happens?
Mm-hmm.
Break up those base in the schools, you break up the community. When you break up the community, now all of a sudden we're divided. And from 65 to 2023, what has happened? We don't know each other. We don't associate with each other. No longer we do it for the race. The
Mm-hmm.
morality that we once had, where it was one for all and all for one, is gone.
Right.
So the objective was achieved due to the Southern strategy
Mm-hmm.
and the objectives to break up the black communities and the families and the schools. And now
Mm-hmm.
you get what you get.
Yeah. Yeah. It's disappointing. It's disappointing that we don't have the love for ourselves anymore, and our other neighbors, they loving each other up and trying to get the country just like they want it,
Oh
and
yeah,
we're lagging behind, So I don't know. I
yeah. The
mean,
Great Divide is not only in the country; the Great Divide is in our own communities.
yeah.
Because we don't talk anymore. Nobody since COVID, people not even going back to church.
Mm-mm.
There's another fragmentation in society, in the
Yeah.
black society, and so what we're seeing is that we have become so fragmented. How would you ever expect us to work together to have a concerted movement marching forward? I
Mm-hmm.
hear that Dr. King's son is going to do a thing down at
In
the
August.
Lincoln Memorial or down
Yeah.
on the coming up here in a month or so.
Yeah.
But you think it's going to have the same effect? No, no, it's not, because the Great Divide has engulfed our community in a way that does not allow us to think that way anymore.
Mm-hmm. But
And
one of the problems we have too is that we don't support our own causes. Now there are members of the white community that come out and support our causes and outnumber us, and we supposed to be
oh
the
yeah,
ones there supporting the cause.
and thank God for that compassion on the other side, because I tell you what, that seems to be the glue that's holding the factory together.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, you look out there, you at an event, and you say, well, my brothers and sisters, where all my cousins at? They
uh,
don't even come.
I think
Everybody
there
else
are
is there
those
to support us, and that's a shame.
there are those that realize uh, as we go down, so goes the ship.
Yeah, yeah, and the ship is
Take a
going
look.
down.
Take a look at what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
For the last 2 years, the military has missed its recruiting strategy. So if you don't have people that can go in the military, you don't have people that can fight wars. You don't
Right.
have people that can fly those airplanes to go into air-to-air combat,
Mm-hmm.
or guide the Navy destroyers into waters,
Mm-hmm.
where they're supposed to go and defend the country. So
Mm-hmm.
what you're seeing is all this divide is now affecting the security of America.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as one goes, the other goes.
That's
Now
right.
you're divided. Now you're preaching all this negativity. Now the youth are buying into that negativity, and
Mm-hmm.
now you can't meet your recruiting goals. You can't
Mm-hmm.
reach if you can't reach the recruiting goals. You can't fight
Mm-hmm.
the wars you want to fight, because you should be able to fight three wars on three different fronts. You can't do that.
Right.
You don't have young men and young women volunteering to do that. And where did
Mm-hmm.
those young men and young women come from? From the middle class and lower class families who said, my hope and opportunity is to go in the military so I can make something of myself.
Right.
But you have taken away that self-esteem and that hope that they saw in bettering their lives through the military. Then now you have taken away the security of this country.
Yeah.
And so all those up on the hill right now talking about, well, we need to take away, Mr. President, we need to take away some of the veterans' benefits. Mr. President, we need to take away some of the seniors' benefits. Mr. President, we need to do this and do that to tax, not tax those that are billionaires at the same rate we tax those that are $100 heirs. Now, when you do that, now you're saying that those lives don't matter.
Right.
And so they're seeing this. So why should they defend a country that values their life at three-fifths of majority again, and talks to them like they're dogs, and does not show any representation for them?
Yeah.
So when you talk about stand your ground, I see that as a racist intent to be able to legally kill people that you see as a threat to you, especially minorities. When you talk about voter suppression, I see that as a threat. Once again, and when you talk about all these other things that we see coming out of Florida and Texas and Virginia and some other places, burn the books, take away the books, give the parents the right, take it out of the educators' hands. I see this as all subversive acts designed to keep the Southern strategy in place and to minimize the value of those that really need to have those books, those that be able to need to join the military, those that need to be able to depend on America and the politicians to be able to elevate their lives to a quality standard of life so they can live here, pay taxes, and enjoy this country and raise their families. I see all under threat, and it threatens the very security of the United States of America.
Yes, it most definitely is. So we got a lot of work ahead to do. Instead of us retiring, Dr. Dooley, we got to keep going, okay?
Well, I've retired 3 times and I'm still working.
Yeah, we got to keep on keeping on. Well, look, as always, I've enjoyed sitting down with you, chopping it up about current events and what's going on in our country. And we just got to continue to pray that our Black brothers and sisters will wake up and see the light, before it's too late. Because, there is a train coming, and it can be a positive train, can be a negative train. Depends on what we want to do. And I challenge the Black politicians out here to go to work in your communities and roll up your sleeves and find out what's going on and provide programs for these young people to get them thinking about what they can do. I mean, one time there was a big movement on STEM. It's still a movement on STEM, but it's not a big movement anymore. We got to get these kids where they are before they get out into this world and find themselves being part of the prison population. And they're going to build more prisoners.
Mm-hmm. And and I'll go a step further. I would love to see, for the overall strength of the nation, like-minded people, Black, white, Jews, Gentiles, you name it, come together and join hands and work together to fight against the adversity that we're seeing that has raised its ugly head in our country today, so that we can once again pave a bright future for our children, and understanding that our choices today as a unified nation, Black, white, and Asian, Latino, the course we have to chart for the goodness of our posterity is to come together, like Dr. King said, at the table of brotherhood, and look at where we're at, and for those like-minded people to be willing to work together to right the course.
Yeah.
Not stay the course. To stay the course is dead, but we need to right the course now. And I hope and pray that Americans who, I don't care if you're conservative or progressive, will have the mindset to do as your forefathers did and the historians have done and the previous Congress has done, to sit down and compromise. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have to have a consensus. You don't have to think, okay, yeah, we all gonna think like, no, that's not gonna happen. But we can compromise. I'll give a little bit if you'll give a little bit, and let's see if we can't leave a better country for our children than we found it.
Yes, most definitely, most definitely. Well, look, Mr. Dr. Doolin, I got to go. I know you got to go too, but I've enjoyed sitting down with you. This is to our viewers. We've had a lively conversation on things, political issues that affect our community, the Black community, and what we need to do. We didn't talk about everything. We talked about some of the stuff, but we've got to come together and work together to get this thing right. So, for our viewers, Urban Sentinel Live is part of the Urban Sentinel magazine, and the magazine will be out tomorrow sometime. So go to www.urbansentinelmagazine.com and purchase your copy. It'll be out. There'll be some good timely articles in there. So I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I see our producer Mark Lee has awoken from his nap and he's back. And we thank him for his efforts to keep this show rolling. So, Dr. Doolin, until the next time, you take care of yourself. And again, we want to show love for our military people for this month. This is Military Appreciation Month. So, when you see a vet or you see a current enlisted person, just pay it forward. Buy them a cup of coffee, or a soda. Show appreciation. Because hey, look, if our military isn't doing the job, then this country will be in dire straits. Okay,